like I said, not the best night, not the worst night for Inter Miami last night as they took on Mexico's Tigres. Leo Campana gets a penalty kick, ties the game. Then Tigres comes back, wins 2-1. Now we must await an 8 o'clock game between Pachuca and Toronto FC. We don't have to wait any longer, though, for our expert analysis from Battered Herons podcast and one of our favorite people, Daniel Solana.
Woohoo!
Hola, mi amigo.
How's it going, fellas? Everything going well?
Man, we're just waiting on this Pachuca Toronto FC game. Break it down for me right now. Is there any way that Toronto FC can win tonight and help us out so we can get that good, favorable matchup in the round of 32 at Leagues Cup?
I think it's possible for them to win. I think in this first round, you've seen a lot of MLS teams beat Liga MX teams. Now, a lot of folks are saying Liga MX teams might not be taking the tournament serious. But I think you saw that last night. Tigres is taking it serious. I mean, at least their fans are putting the pressure on them because that stadium, Energy Stadium, had about 45, 50,000 fans, and it was a big sea of yellow, not a lot of pink Messi jerseys like we're used to seeing in most games. Now, can Toronto beat Pachuca? Absolutely. Remember, the way that the tournament is set up, you get a tie, you can go on to PKs, and you can win, through PKs. It's very possible. So can Toronto pull off the upset? Absolutely.
I mean, Pachuca did win that CONCACAF Cup. They beat Columbus Crew. They are a very good team. Nonetheless, are we going to get some of the cavalry back? I know last night Messi didn't play, Suarez didn't play. Messi probably out, but will Luis Suarez at least be back? Your guy for this round of 32 against whoever we might play.
He will be back. Tata said yesterday that they left him at home just to, rest up his knee and get him ready for the knockout stages. Of course, the fact that Inter Miami won the first game gave them, that ability to be able to rest some of their players. You also saw Sergio Busquets, who had been, basically an automatic starter coming off of the bench yesterday, allowing some of the younger guys to get more time. One of those younger guys that we've been talking about, Dan and Vlad, is Yannick Bright. The guy's been an absolute stud since he's been, given his minutes. And you saw it again last night. He was just sweeping up the midfield and just doing a great job being the motor of the Inter Miami midfield. Unfortunately, Suarez didn't play. He's one of the players who makes the correct runs and kind of gets himself open and sets other players up. Campana is not that same type of player, and that's why there was a lot of question marks on who was going to score goals last night because Campana has showed that this year he's not up to doing that task. Fortunately, I thought Inter Miami would get, a set piece goal, and that's exactly what happened. They got a penalty. And let me tell you, Campana put it away better than I've seen anybody put it away lately. So it was an absolute great goal by him. But unfortunately, as a DP, he's just not doing enough. And he needs to do more if he's going to have that DP status.
Well, all right. Why did Suarez play? They had a week off.
Hey man, he wants.
I mean,
he probably went to dinner with Messi last night and had one of those weird pizzas.
Come on, Daniel. Like, let's be real. The CONCACAF was what? It's almost a month ago, right? And he was Uruguay was eliminated in the semis, correct?
That's right.
So,
that's right.
It's been some time. It's been some time.
I agree.
We could have used them. Like, if we wanted. Like, unless this was for certain matchups, because we all know that happens. That if you want to avoid somebody, you may lose on purpose. But we all know Toronto is an easier matchup than the opponent than Pachuca. So therefore, maybe have your best player play, some of your best players play so that you could solidify, get that 1 seed, and then we figure that Pachuca would probably beat Toronto FC,
but what
so
if
then we get FC?
But what if Pachuca sees Inter Miami win and then they lose on purpose because they have a more favorable matchup that way? You can't guarantee that. That's the only other thing.
I think you have to play for your favorable matchup and just hope for the best. And I'm just saying, but with that being said, it's been a good break, don't you think? Like, it's been a nice little break he's had.
Absolutely. It's been a good break. But one thing that you haven't mentioned, Vlad, and it's something that you got to keep this in mind. Remember that the Leagues Cup is a tournament that takes place within 1 month. So, they just played 2 games within a week, but they're going to have games basically every 3 to 4 days now in the knockout stage going until the finals. And if you can remember last year, it's 7 games. Messi played those 7 games within a month, and then he got injured. So again, you can't, although you want to win Leagues Cup, you also have to think about the future. And there's still 10 games, 30 points left to be played, for the MLS Cup and for the Supporter Shield. And where Inter Miami stands today, they're top of the league, top of the Eastern Conference. They have a chance of breaking the Supporter Shield number for points. And if you can do that, I think Inter Miami is the type of team that they want to break records. That's the team that they've assembled. And I think that's what they're, also focusing on. Remember, they won the Leagues Cup last year, so it's something that they've already won. But, not saying that they're not taking it serious. I think they want to win it. I think it's obvious. The players have said it. Tata has said it. But you also have to take into account that the knockout stage is going to get rough with the teams that you play, the amount of time between games. And then, again, you have those 10 games left for the MLS Cup. So you have to make sure that you rest the players that you're going to need later down the line to make sure that they're healthy for the most important games.
I have to ask you this. It's obligatory. It's a weekly obligatory Messi update. Any chance of him playing in any time in this tournament if they continue advancing?
I'll tell you this. So Suarez said, and everybody knows Suarez is his best friend, and I don't think Suarez is going to come out publicly and say something that he's not allowed to say. But he said he's going to be back sooner than most people think. Now, it's been 3 weeks since he had his injury. A second-degree ankle sprain usually is 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to be coming up on the 4th week this week. Is there a possibility? If you're asking me to put some money down on if Messi's going to play the final if they get there, I'm putting money down that he's going to play. If he's 80% and they're in the finals, I think he plays. Especially knowing what Suarez said, that he's going to be back sooner than what most people think. So the final would be, at the end of August. It would put him at that 6-week range. So look, if this guy's getting the treatment around the clock that he's getting, the boot's already off, we should probably see him back in the gym this week, hopefully back on the field next week. It's all looking towards, if they get to the finals, that Messi's going to be there.
Just got to keep winning. So hopefully that will happen. We're joined by Batter and Heron's podcast, Daniel Solana. I want to get back to Leo Campana's penalty kick last night. Now, Daniel, you've played, of course, high school, collegiately, even semi-pro. You've watched a lot of soccer. You've analyzed it all. He had a very deliberate kick last night. That makes me nervous. Which do you feel is more advantageous, or can you just explain? I like a just make up your mind, go penalty kick. Is there an advantage? Do you think there is one type that is better than the other, or is it just every individual situation?
I think it's every individual situation, and it depends on the player. Me personally, I was always the type of guy that I chose my spot. I knew where I was going, and I looked at the ball. I didn't even look at the keeper. I didn't look at the goal. I knew where I was going. And that's how I practiced my PKs, and I knew I never changed. I always went to the left bottom side of the goalkeeper, side netting. That was always my goal. Can't say I always made it, hit the post a couple times, but that's soccer, right? So look, I'm more on the side of the players who decide where they're going to shoot and just shoot it as hard as they can to the side that they pick. And even if it means if you're going to shoot hard into the center, I'm okay with that as well. But I'm much on the side of give it your all, then try to chip it or, place it nice, because the chances of you kicking it soft, it gives the goalies a better chance of blocking it.
Any surprises during these games during this past weekend that, you looked at and was like, wow, I was shocked by this result?
Yeah, there was a couple games that had me, a little bit, first off, let's be honest. No, I don't think after what happened last year, I don't think anybody saw MLS taking this, big of a lead in terms of wins and losses versus, Liga MX. But I think MLS has only lost like 2 or 3 games against Liga MX, which is absolutely nuts. Now, everything's played in the U.S. and all that, but the Liga MX teams this year were able to choose, at least some of them were able to choose some of their home field advantages. And you saw that with Tigres last night. Tigres was hosting an entire Tigres week in Houston all week. So you can imagine the type of fanfare that they got there and all that. I think that's fantastic. But in terms of surprises, look, overall, I think any MLS team that beats one of the higher tier, Liga MX teams in that San Jose versus that Chivas matchup, San Jose beat them. San Jose is one of the bottom teams in the MLS, and they beat Chivas. That's a big upset. But overall, I think any MLS team that's not Inter Miami or LAFC, LA Galaxy, beating a Liga MX team is an upset.
Really? Because I'm sorry, Dan. It's because here's the thing. We saw Zlatan on First Take, and they've talked about the improvement of the MLS, and we've talked about this as well. A couple of the past 2 weeks when we've had you on about the growth of the game, the progression of the game, and it's getting to the point where now I'm not shocked when the MLS teams win. I'm not shocked if they beat a team from Mexico or any of in these international competitions. And they've said that the game is advanced here in the MLS. Maybe not in a way like WNBA is advancing, but it's getting there. It's getting more eyes on there, and they're getting the stars, and the stars that are coming from Europe or in South America are actually saying they love playing MLS. Can you expound on that? Like, we shouldn't be shocked anymore when these teams really win.
No, I mean, yes and no. So there's some teams that you can't be shocked, and you can see, some of those teams, like for example, the Real Salt Lakes, who have some, difference makers on their team. They went ahead and they had a big win the other day. And I mean, there's some other teams that you can maybe not be surprised. But again, when you see a San Jose Earthquakes face against Chivas, one of probably the second biggest team, in Mexico, and in terms of fan base in the United States, to me, that's an upset. Now, maybe some others are not upsets, like Portland beating León 2-1. That could be, I mean, it's more of a game-to-game thing. So you really have to look at who's kind of playing. I think the biggest surprise of the entire first round has been Austin. Austin beat the two Liga MX teams in their group, which was Pumas and I forget the other team, but they beat Pumas, which was insane on the opening day of group match day one.
Monterrey.
Right, and then they beat Monterrey in match day 2. And Monterrey just got grouped. So Monterrey was one of the favorites going into this group, and they just got grouped. So I get your point, Vlad. Yes, the league is advancing, but one thing that you failed to mention in the Zlatan interview. So Zlatan spoke to Giroud, and then they interviewed Giroud, and Giroud said that Zlatan told Giroud, "You're gonna love this league because it's an open league as far as MLS doesn't like to defend as much, so that they don't defend with a lot of low blocks, so the forwards have enough space to go out and get forwards." And that's why you saw Zlatan have a great career in MLS. And I think Giroud's going to follow because he killed it last year in Serie A when he was playing with AC Milan. So look, you're going to go from Serie A to come play here where the defense, again, I'm not saying the defense is bad or it's weak. It's just not the focal point. It's not a
focal point like it is in Serie A. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So a player like Giroud is probably going to come here and tear the league apart, especially if you have Buanga next to him, Kike Oliveira, and they're talking about Griezmann coming. I mean, Vlad, if Griezmann comes, I mean, the league has just improved immensely, and more players are going to follow.
Very important question. Who is the better-looking French national, Antoine Griezmann or Claude Giroud?
I got to go with Griezmann. And you want to know why? Because of all the different hairstyles he's had.
Let's get back to something more serious. Daniel Solana, for the person that's listening right now that maybe isn't a big soccer fan, I want you to rank the top 5 soccer leagues in the world, and where does MLS fall overall?
Okay, so I would say number 1 is definitely the EPL, no doubt, in terms of viewership, in terms of sponsorships. I mean, they're definitely the league that I don't want to say everybody wants to play in, but all eyes are on the EPL. Number 2 is a little tough. It's probably between Spain and Italy right now.
I'm always going La Liga.
I understand that, but remember, La Liga is very top heavy now.
Their top is so damn. Relax. Pause. But their best teams are so good, and they're usually the Champions League champion.
It is, but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why you don't see a lot of EPL teams win. And it's because the EPL is so tough, week in and week out. Even when you're playing the bottom teams like a Sunderland or, some of those, or Southampton or something like that, which usually are on the bottom, it's not an easy game, especially if you're playing away. So that's why I think you're seeing teams from Italy, teams from Germany, even PSG make it to the finals because their leagues are so top heavy and they don't have to play such challenging games like the EPL does week in and week out. So I think that's why you see, more teams from other leagues than the EPL make it into the Champions League. But Vlad, you're right, man. I mean, how many Champions Leagues does Real Madrid have? I think it's 16 now, 15 or 16.
15.
So I mean, that's crazy. And again, I'm not a Real Madrid fan, but you got to give them respect for doing that. I mean, 15 championships. It's like you got to give the Lakers and the Celtics respect. We can't stand their fan bases, but they've won the championships.
And also, it seems that it's important to win La Liga to those teams as well. Whereas in Serie A, if they don't win the title, they're gonna try to win Champions League. You know what I'm saying? It was winning in La Liga, winning in Spain, winning La Liga, winning that title, that means a lot. It means a lot to them. So that's why I always move them in number 2 because winning the Premier Leagues means as much to those teams, maybe a little bit more in some references, in some aspects, than actually winning Champions League. But to be the best team in Europe is more of a
absolutely.
It's big. So yeah, that's why I always say Spain might be after EPL and then follow by
and I can't argue with that. Like I said, it's almost interchangeable. Serie A and Liga, are right there, and then possibly the German league is right under it, and then
Bundesliga, yeah,
maybe the French, maybe League One after that. Even though I'm not too impressed with League One, especially
nobody ever is.
And with Mbappe gone, I want to see what the viewership's going to be like because they don't have any huge name players left in League One. So it's going to be really interesting to see now who takes over as that 5th league in terms of viewership, players, and signings. So it's going to be an interesting new year for soccer.
So how far down does MLS fall as far as the rankings would be concerned, in your opinion?
And to piggyback after that, how long would it take? How many more years would it take for them to be in, like, maybe mention the top 5?
Yeah, I think MLS is definitely a top 10 league right now. I would put them down maybe like 8, 9. I think there's other leagues that are still ahead of that. I would put the Brazilian league over that, even the Argentinian league, just because of the players that they develop and what they sell them for. This one young guy that plays for River Plate just got sold, Claudio Echeverri. I think he's 18 years old. He got sold for $30 million. So, or $35 million. So until you can get those types of sales and those types of players coming out of your league, I don't think it's possible to say that you're above those leagues. And to answer your question, how long can it be? Look, I think the MLS still has a lot of maturing to do. They need to look at their rules. They need to maybe open up the cap rules a little bit to get them to be a little bit more competitive with the European teams to try to steal some of the players. And if they can start to become competitive, then you're going to see some players choosing to come to the States and play than to Europe. Why? Quality of life, man. Quality of life. I know folks complain about inflation and about all the stuff going on here, but the players want to be in the States. It's the truth.
I think you mentioned it earlier when you said what you say Zoltan was talking to his guy. I think Messi's probably giving a good word to his friends. I think the best promotion for the MLS has been the star players that they've gotten, who's talking to other star players. And it's like, you know what, guys, this is still fun. And like you said, you don't care for defense. And you're talking about some of the greatest scoring soccer players in the world that they could continue adding on into their career goals, money.
Absolutely. And look at it.
Fame.
Giroud came out and said, I always wanted to come to the MLS. Mm-hmm. So and for a player of that stature, and Griezmann's been saying that too. So
yeah,
the fact that these players with these names I want to come to the MLS, that means so much more because all the other guys are hearing that.
Cristiano Ronaldo will make his final stop in his soccer career in the MLS.
I have a feeling. I don't think he's allowed to.
Well, I think they'll work out something. They'll work out something with the Nevada authorities.
Legal issues, but
they'll work out. We'll work out something with the Nevada authorities.
Hey,
they'll do something.
If Contavious Caldwell-Pope was able to play all the home games for LA, then I'm sure they'll figure something out for.
They'll figure out something for one of the most popular athletes in the world. I think so.
Absolutely.
Real quick before we let you go, Daniel Solana, did you watch the U.S. women's national team yesterday at the Olympics?
I did. What a goal by Rodman. Wow, unbelievable. But can I tell you, I was listening to the English version, and there was no passion on the call. Nothing against the play-by-play guy, but I saw on social media some back and forth of some folks saying like, "Oh my God, it was an extra time and it was an amazing goal," and it was just like she puts it in the back of the net, and with all the mediocreness that had been going on. Not that he wasn't lying; it wasn't a great game, but a little bit more passion, man. Like give it a little more passion in that goal. I mean, it was a great goal, probably one of the best in the tournament.
I was going to say, Trinity Robin, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the best, what would you rate that? I call it a wonder goal.
I give it a 13.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
Quick point on the men's side. They lost 3-0 to Morocco.
Not surprised.
What happened there?
Not surprised, man. Morocco is, and you saw them against Argentina in the first game. They are there to win. They brought some really good players. They have some nice young players. And the U.S. men's national team, I think they could have done a better job of taking a better team. There was, some rumors that, Don Garber had, kind of put his hand in there and kind of force certain players to go because they're MLS players. I don't think that's right, but that's things that are going on within USSF and between Don Garber, who's got his hand in all of U.S. soccer, it feels like. But look, they went out there, they got into the knockout stage for the first time in I don't know how many years. So that's something to be positive about. And for you Inter Miami fans, look, Diego Gomez, who Paraguay also lost, and now Benjamin Kremaski, who was representing the United States, are both going to be back for Thursday's game. So that's something to look forward to as an Inter Miami fan. Sucks for the U.S. that they couldn't get it to the medal round. But look, I think it's France's gold medal to lose. They look unstoppable on the men's side. And on the women's side, huge upset by Brazil yesterday to beat France, especially without Marta, who I don't know if you saw what happened to her in the prior game. She got a red card and she started crying, one of the best all-time female players of all time. So luckily for them, they were able to get past France, and hopefully she gets a chance to play in the medal round, because for one of the best women's football players of all time to go out like that, it would be a shame.
U.S. men's soccer has never won a medal in the Olympics. That's going to be at least another 4 years. But Daniel Solana, you are always a gold medalist with us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Always.